Yes, I know. It feels good, doesn't it? Even if you're not in the playoffs. It feels good, right? Okay, I'll see you later. Oh, yeah, tried it. I got some A left from donuts. Glazed donuts. You want one? No, that's it. Take them out. That's what the hole is.
Good morning. Brandon's married.
And I'd go, all right, better. I basically told him, I said, well, we have to write it to you. Not really, I mean, I disability. Level of excellence. Yeah. So I put actually put it out if you want to. Loving this weather.
I know.
So I go down there.
he's got to sign. Somebody's got to sign. Because no one, there's no other board member. That's fine. No, it's fine. Thank you for doing it. How's everything at work? Okay. You're making $5 an hour. But yeah, I think you know. That's manageable. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember they used to come out to the Christmas party at City Park. Oh, yeah. We had a special Christmas party. Magnolia, some of the schools like there, some people ride up. Yeah. Yeah, they did. It was they were, yeah, they were. No, they weren't. No.
One of them.
Oh, that's good. I remember when Bonnie worked there. This is a long time ago. And she took me out and I met everyone. And one of the guys kept saying, "I have a Volkswagen." And he was insistent, "I want to go see the boat. I want to see the boat. I want to see your boat." So finally, I got so much permission out of bed and we would walk over to the corner. But anyway, I came over and he got over and he said, "Oh, that's nice."
When Magnolia started, you bought it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Hey, will you listen and say, I'll say the light stand just listen to that. Still, everybody's still getting used to 10:30. We have like about a quarter till. We have like people coming in. Like, what's happening?
I had my Volkswagen hanging in there. It was one of the people that was excited about seeing a Volkswagen. The guy for the Volkswagen. No. He just goes, I want to see the dog. I want to see my Tom got permission to go over there. And he went over there with me. Yes, that's fine.
That's typical. It's in the process of doing it. And you saw it. You accomplished what you wanted.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity of Metairie. Join me in song this morning. Come together. Look at the person next to you. Say, I love you, I love you. Come on. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. And lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Anybody want to join and sing with me this morning? We're short on singers. It's your chance. All right. Now look at the person next to you. Yep. Say, I recognize the God in you. Yeah, yeah. Come on now, feel the love in the sanctuary. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Now lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. From every walk of life, every walk of life, every creed and color, every creed and color. We should be unite in honor of God and each other. Yeah, the person next to you, namaste. Say namaste, I bow to you. Come on now, feel the love in the sanctuary. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Good morning, everybody. Say hello to your spiritual family with some hugs and handshakes. Welcome, everybody. All right, y'all, let's get in those last hugs. Welcome, everybody. It's a beautiful day outside. What do you think about this nice, cool weather? Yes, it's awesome. Yay! Always feel refreshed and excited, and my kitty cats are running around feeling frisky. So we welcome everybody today. This is Unity of Metairie. I am Jack Fowler, the spiritual director, and there's no place I'd rather be than here with my spiritual family this morning. So welcome. If you're not familiar with Unity, we are not a religion. We are a philosophical, beautiful way to live, practically using the ideas of the man called Jesus and others that have taught us how to live and understanding that divine presence is within us. We honor all religions, all spiritual paths, all lifestyle. We believe that whoever you are, wherever you are, God is. So let's all just take a deep breath and become centered here and now. Just as best you can, let go of any situations, commotions, whatever. Leave that at the door. Bringing all of your energy and focus right here. We believe that in this very moment is all that we need, because within us is a divine presence that is love, that is peace, that is joy. We just have to access that. So do we have anybody here for the very first time? Just simply raise your hand and we will greet you. Thanks, Sam. In this packet here is some information about Unity, what we do here at our local spiritual center, and what we do all around the world. So if you wouldn't mind filling out the little sheet on the back and let us know what you thought about the service, we would appreciate it. And we welcome you. We welcome everybody in the room today, and we welcome everyone that's watching us online. Everybody say hello. Hello. Yes. We welcome you. I'm sure you're in your pajamas having some coffee or tea. So sit back and relax. We hope that you can feel the love that is coming from these wonderful people here in our spiritual family. We're so glad that you joined us online today. Tell everybody, even if they live out of town, that they can become part of our spiritual community simply going to the Unity Church of Metairie Facebook page, liking that page, following that page, and on Sunday morning, watching us just right here. So love technology and how we can spread these life-affirming principles. Go ahead and silence your cell phone or anything else that might make a noise as we begin to move into a more sacred place. Just really grateful. Looking at that sunshine out there, it's just awesome. So let's see, I see Christian there. Do we have any other kids here today? Y'all, let's give it up for Christian as he comes up. Yeah. Alrighty, and you got to remember to sing with me at the end, Christian. We were short of people today. Usually he's come up here singing with me. So as we do every week, we're going to bless this wonderful little one and send that blessing to children all over the world. May they know and recognize who they are, these beautiful expressions of life. Wherever they are, wherever they may be, may they have an internal knowing that there is divine, beautiful presence that guides them and loves them, no matter what their situation may be. So say with me today, children of light, we bless you. We see you loved, guided, and protected by God's presence. And of course, New Orleans style, we love you hard, hard, hard. We swear to God. All right. So as we sit back and relax this morning, beginning to breathe, becoming centered, opening our hearts, opening our minds, ready to hear, ready to listen, as we begin our service by listening to these inspiring thoughts from our daily word.
Sunday, October 21st. I am one with the loving guidance of divine mind. Spirit expresses through all of creation as loving guidance, maintaining perfect order in all things. Today, I focus and take time to gain direction in all that I do. Since my essence is of spirit, I am one with divine mind always. And I remember that truth whenever I feel confused, conflicted, or uncertain of what my next step should be. My mortal mind is limited, relying on yesterday's fears to make today's decisions. I choose to move beyond any perceived limitations to the loving guidance available through the presence of divine mind within. This day unfolds before me, filled with satisfaction and joy, as I feel that loving guidance with every step I take, every choice I make. I am one with the loving guidance of divine mind. Our inspiration comes from Psalm 119, 105. Your word is the lamp to my feet and a light to my path.
So we take these words within today, knowing that we are always guided, always protected. Knowing that right now in this moment, we are exactly where we need to be. There is a magnificent force in the invisible that is always leading us, always guiding us. It's quite impossible to be somewhere where you're not supposed to be. So this morning we relax in knowing that all that we need is right here, right now. Because the very presence of God is here. Because we are here. We are the hands and feet and voice of the divine. We open our mind, open our hearts, knowing that everything that needs to be said will be said, everything that needs to be heard will be heard. As we listen to that voice of spirit, that still small voice, right here, right now. Right here, right now, we have come into the presence of God, and our hearts are open to the love that's found. Right here, right now. Right here, knowing there is one power, one love, one infinite presence. Each one of us an individualized expression of this one life, this one God, this one love. So this morning we light our Christ candle, which is a representation of this light within us. As we've been told, you are the light of the world. You are the hands and feet and voice of the divine. This candle represents the presence of God within each of us, the divine presence that came with us into this world. It is who you really are, spirit, whole, perfect. Sometimes we forget this as we focus on the outer world and all of the things that we see that can sometimes be frightening and disheartening. But we know that within us there is oneness, there is sameness, there is one love, one life. So we take time to move into the stillness, into the quiet, where we see things as they really are. We see the truth of who we are. We meet our true, essential self, created in the image and likeness of God. And in this moment, exactly as God created you, nothing can change what God has created whole. And so this morning we take some time together to move into the silence, into the stillness, accessing that part of us, the place within us where nothing is impossible, the place within us where we begin to see ourselves as God sees us, the beloved, holy. So I invite you to become comfortable in your chair. If you choose, put both feet flat on the floor. There's no right or wrong way. Just become comfortable and still. Begin to consciously breathe, breathing deeply and watching your breath come into your lungs. Watching your breath as you exhale. In this moment, use your breath as a focal point, as a mantra, a place to center, to bring all of your energy, thoughts, and focus to right here, right now, to this very room, to this place. Letting go of the future, letting go of the past. Just being here now. Watching your breath, breathing. As you feel your body relax, your legs become still. Feel your abdomen release any tension that may be there. Feel your shoulders gently drop. Release any tension in your neck, your forehead. Feel your face begin to soften, becoming still. Allowing yourself to become empty and quiet and still. Breathing. Breathing in the very breath and life and light of God. Beginning to turn all of your thoughts and focus inward. Collecting all of your energy right here, right now. Relaxing completely, surrendering to this moment, to this holy instant. as you continue to breathe, being fully present here and now. Take a moment and look at your thoughts. See what's there. Become conscious of what you're thinking of. And realize you have the choice for your mind to become quiet and empty and still. When your mind becomes still and quiet, there is a gap between your thoughts and the nothingness, and the emptiness. This is where miracles happen. This is where transformation happens. This is where healing happens. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that all is well. For in the stillness and the quiet, you connect with your vital source of energy, who you really are, spirit, whole, perfect, the beloved, holy child of God. In the silence, in the stillness, our eyes are open as we see ourselves, just as God created us, in the image and likeness of love itself. So we breathe in this love, this stillness, this peace, resting, resting, surrendering to the silence. still and know that I am God. Be still and know. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Join in once more if you'd like. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. And from this sacred place of stillness, as we open up to the divine presence within us, saying, thank you, God, that as you have created us, we remain. May we awaken to this truth and remember who we are, your beloved. And so it is. Good morning. What a beautiful time together. We can just go home now. So I used to believe that when we are born into this experience, talk amongst yourselves for just one moment. I used to believe that when we were born into this experience that eventually things would come along in our life that would shape us into who we were, that we were somewhat of a blank slate, you might say. And as things began to unfold as we were babies and then on into school and beyond that, that we would begin to form an opinion of the world based on that. Does that make sense? In other words, the people around us would influence us. And the thing about that is, though, and I've changed quite a bit about that based on what I've read in contemporary literature, such as Course in Miracles and other things, and ancient mysticism as well, that tells us that the world is what we make of it. That we are not the blank slate that the world puts upon us. The world is actually the blank slate. And we put our thoughts and ideas onto it. And the world actually molds itself to our own experience and ideas. So it's a very different way to look at things. If you understand what I'm saying, you know, instead of us being this little baby, and of course babies are innocent and beautiful, but I believe that we forget that that baby is also a very powerful creative being. And over time, that baby grows and it begins to put its own ideas into the world, and that's what the world becomes to it. Einstein, let me get my sheet over here to make sure I quote this right. I love Einstein so much. You know, we think about him as a scientist, but he was such a great metaphysician and talked about things, especially in his later writing, in metaphysical terms. But Einstein said this: the most important question you could ever ask is if the universe is a friendly place. the most important question you could ever ask is if the universe is a friendly place. So I don't know about you, but I've had to really change consciously my idea of the world, because from my pattern of growing up, even though my family was loving and I had a wonderful childhood, I realized, and you've heard me talk about this before, that in a lot of ways I didn't feel like the world was a friendly place. I just felt like something wasn't right. And I was always a little bit anxious. I didn't know what about, but I was a little bit anxious. Anybody else know what I'm feeling about, talking about? I just felt a little, something's not right. And I'm glad to know, for one, as Unity teaches us and other spiritual paths teach us, that whatever your world is, you have the power to change it. You have the power to change it. And you can use your outer faculties and your senses and your intelligence and your skills to change it, but really the change comes from within. If we really want to change our world, it does come from within. And so what I'm going to talk about today is being a witness for love. That's the title of the talk. Because as we begin to see more love in the world, that blank slate, the world begins to appear more loving to us and for us. So we get to choose. Various groups have told us and teachers have told us there's really only two things we can choose from when we're making a decision. Most of us have heard this: fear or love, right? And instead of things being very complicated and all these things to work out, in every moment we're either deciding, do I see fear or do I see love in this situation? And we actually become the witness for love if we choose, as the world once again shapes itself to us. A lot of this has to do with perception too. I mean, we all know about the glass half empty, a lot of this is cliche, but it's true. If you put a glass up here and put it half empty, depending on what mood you were in that moment, some people would say, wow, that's awesome, that glass is half full. That's a nice drink of water. And some other of us would say, man, half of it's already gone. And I don't know if you're like me, but it really depends on where I'm at in my faith at that point to see where that glass is and if it's full or not. I gave a talk a few weeks ago called Seeing Through the Eyes of Love, and this is kind of an extension of that as we learn to be witnesses for love. Because when it all boils down to it, we look for the divine in all kinds of things, but you actually are the divine. And that's why I say this a lot. You are the hands and feet and voice of God. And the way that we look at things really determines what we see in the world. Have you ever noticed this before? As I begin to release, what's the word we say, dramatic, traumatic and drama together. I heard someone use that phrase the other day. I don't know if that's a new kid word, but dramatic. When I decided I wanted to release drama from my world, first it was difficult because some people in my life fell away, like they were no longer there. And it was interesting because I didn't have a conversation with them and say, I don't want drama anymore, so be gone. You could do that if you wanted to. Anybody else have no drama at all in your world? Like none? And what I found happened was, as I began to see the world as drama-free, my life started becoming drama-free. And those people that seemed to cause drama in my interaction with them just kind of weren't there anymore. They just kind of disappeared. And like I said, there wasn't even a fight. I'm thinking of a couple in particular. There wasn't a commotion or a fight. Just one day I thought, well, wow, I don't really see this person very much anymore. And I realized that he was actually just responding to my desire to live in a drama-free world and begin to be a witness for love and begin to see love in all situations and realize, even though it's difficult, if there's something going on in your life, that everything is working out exactly as it should. You know, sometimes we have to get the cosmic 2x4 to realize that, but everything is happening exactly as it should. Sometimes I wonder why we argue so hard for our limitations. I mean, if there was a court, the cosmic court, you might say, I'm sure all of us could argue for our limitations, say, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough money for that, I'll never be able to accomplish that. And if there was a court, we could line up all the witnesses to prove that that was true. To line them up and say, this person will vouch for me that I am not good enough. Why do we do that? Anybody have any ideas about that? Why do we justify our limitations? I think a lot of it has to do, once again, with just not realizing who we are, how powerful we are. I'm still working on the book, so keep your hands together in prayer, you might say, because it's brought up so much about this for me, and it's been very emotional. And I realized, even more than I ever knew, that as a child, the world, as Einstein said, I thought it was a fearful place. And when you think the world is a fearful place, it colors every decision that you make. It colors your relationships, it colors your job, it colors everything and every decision that you make. So we have to learn and practice to be a witness for love. Sometimes that's hard to do when we feel like we're being attacked in any way, physically or emotionally. And I love Course in Miracles tells us something really beautiful. It says, when you interact with someone, no matter what happens, for one, it's a holy encounter. Anytime you interact with someone, even if it's someone you don't know, it is a holy encounter. And for two, only two things are happening. Either someone is extending love to you or crying for help. They're extending love to you or crying for help. In the highest realm of things, it actually is impossible for you to be attacked, who you really are. There's no need to defend who you are. Now, that's not saying if you are physically attacked, just to sit there. It's not saying that at all. What I'm talking about is what happens in our mind as we realize, in this moment, is this person extending love to me or are they crying for help? And I tell you, it changes everything. Especially, I really use this with political stuff too. And I've actually stopped watching the news again for a little bit. It just gets to be crazy. Anybody else been on a news binge or stopped watching? And what I do now is if I do catch something, as I open my email, they try to put the news in front of your face. If something happens that doesn't feel good to me, I say, wow, instead of that person is attacking my beliefs or attacking me or attacking my friends or whatever, I say that person is crying for help. And it changes everything. I love the ability to walk to the French Quarter where I live and be able to practice this, because you never know what's going to come around the corner when you walk around the quarter. And I don't ever feel scared in the quarter. It was funny, in the 90s when I moved here from Mobile, my parents were so upset. My dad thought that New Orleans was evil. You know, he was a Pentecostal minister, so he was like, Satan's over in that place. Exactly what he said. And as an example of how we color the world and we create things to match our ideas, the very one time he came to visit me, I lived in the Garden District, and my sister and my mom and he came over, and he was so upset about coming over. He was like, I can't believe Jack lives in this satanic place. It's awful. And so they were driving to my house, and they crossed Britannia Street, and when they did, somebody ran a stop sign and crashed the car. And he got out and said, I told you, it's a sign. He started preaching right out in the middle of Britannia Street. And, that was way before cell phones, and so my sister ran up to a little store and called me and said, well, we're going to never hear the end of this. We're 2 blocks from your house. Here in New Orleans, we finally got Dad to come, and here we are, and we've had a wreck. Somebody's hit us. And he's out there preaching to the policeman. And I thought, wow, wasn't lost on me, and this was way before I really ever started learning more about the laws of the universe and how things work. And even at that point, I thought, wow, isn't that crazy that he resisted coming here so bad and thought it was this horrible place? And of course, when he gets here, something horrible happens. But I never thought that I never felt afraid in the French Quarter. I mean, I lived in the Garden District for a while. This is back in the 90s. Then I moved to the Quarter. My mom was really upset about that. She wasn't sure what happened on Bourbon Street, but she had a good idea. She had seen some pictures. So they were like lighting prayer candles for me like every night. But I always just felt joy. I love New Orleans. I love it. I love being here. And I love the French Quarter. Some people say they hate it. I just love it. Like last night, I walked right out of my house and saw this huge Halloween parade, just right there. And it was awesome. You know, I mean, anybody go to the Halloween parade last night? I mean, it has gotten to be a huge thing. It almost looked like Mardi Gras for a moment, just crowds of people. And I just felt so much joy in the floats and watching everybody. The only thing I didn't catch anything but this little bag of like cheese curls, which I haven't had cheese curls in a really long time, but I thought, you know, I'm in the moment, I'll open them. Wow, those things are nasty. I remember Whoopi Goldberg said that she used to love to eat cheese curls because whenever she was done, she could use the residue for eye makeup. I ate a few little bites and had to throw them out. But I just always have found a lot of joy living in the Quarter. And the whole time that I lived here in the 90s, which I lived here for a decade, I never had one problem. I began to see the world as a friendly place. I began to see the French Quarter as a friendly place. I began to see the French Quarter as a creative place. I wrote some of the best songs I've ever written during the time I lived in the French Quarter in the 90s. It was so creative, and I used that energy that comes out of there to create things and to be inspired. And like I said, you never know what you're going to see. And I was never robbed, never even approached by anyone in any way. And I know it's because I chose to see the world as a beautiful, loving place. I know that that's the reason. The only thing that I had, which ended up being really beautiful, was I had a truck at the time. It was kind of an older truck, and because I used to haul sound equipment from doing music shows, and people would break out the little triangle window in the side, and I never kept anything in there. Finally, and after a couple of times of that being broken out, which I didn't think anything of it, there was nothing in there of value. The insurance company actually told me this. They said, if there's nothing there valuable, just leave the doors unlocked. And then they can go in and rifle around and then leave. And I said, and it worked really well. The benefit of that was I became friends with this wonderful homeless guy. And we had a deal. I said, you sleep in my truck and guard it at night, and I'll give you a bed in my truck. And so for 2 or 3 years, this wonderful gentleman and I befriended each other, and he had this blanket that he would use. He would climb and lay in the back seat, and he would clean up after himself, and then in the morning he would get up and leave, and then I would drive off, and sometimes he would leave me a little note saying, like, it was really cold outside, thank you for letting me live in your truck. And I just thought, isn't that turning lemonade out of lemons? Instead of being fearful of somebody breaking in my car, it's a win-win. Where not only is he not breaking in, but he has a place to stay, and he's like guarding my truck at the same time. But I know that the time that I had here came from the idea and the thought from my powerful self to know that I was safe. That I was safe. There's nothing worse in our lives than feeling unsafe. If you've ever been in a precarious situation, or sometimes, I used to love roller coasters, but I tell you, I can't do them anymore. Feeling unsafe. There's nothing worse than feeling unsafe. It just makes your body turn inside out. And when we begin to see the world as friendly and we become a witness for love, we begin to feel safe. And there's something beautiful about feeling safe. How many people have ever been to, not Disney World, what's the other one that's in Orlando? Universal Studios, is that one that's in Orlando, all of you that have kids? There's this roller coaster there, I tell you, beware. because I loved roller coasters when I was a kid. I was the first one on, and my mom would be horrified. Even when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I was trying to jump on the roller coasters, and I'm surprised my mom didn't go insane during her life for all the crazy stuff that I did. But I went to Universal Studios with a friend. He had some free passes when I went to visit him in Florida. And beware of this roller coaster called the Hulk, based after the, I guess he's not a superhero, it's like a villain, the Hulk. Because most of the roller coaster is enclosed, so you can't see it. So my friend and I are standing in line, and we're talking and catching up. We haven't seen each other for a while, having no idea what was about to happen to us. That our bodies were about to be turned inside out, and we were going to be nauseated for the next 2 days. So we're going, and we're just laughing, and we get in line, and we hear all these noises, and like it's going, what's going on? And so the premise is you're going into the laboratory where he's about to turn into the Hulk, and you hear all these horrible noises. And I don't know what happened, because you couldn't see the track. All that I know is that when we took off, my hind end was still like 20 feet behind me. And we must have twirled and corkscrewed and did all kinds of stuff in the dark. And then we shot out the other side and did a couple of other flips. And I tell you, I felt unsafe. I felt scared. And I thought, man, that's the very first time I ever said these words. Man, I'm getting old. Because I used to love this. I mean, I was probably in my 40s then, but I thought, man, I'm getting old. The funniest thing was they have these cameras that take quick snaps of it, and they have the pictures, that you can buy afterwards when you come down the first thing. I wish that we didn't buy it, but I wish we would have. We were too sick to go buy it, I think. But we were like, both of us. I'm like, I am not going to get that picture. I wish I had it to this day, but honestly, we were so sick and felt unsafe. So be warned if you go. But as we continue our spiritual journey and our spiritual practice, that's one of the things about getting older that I love, is that I become, although I do have ups and downs, like everyone, I do have times that I'm anxious, I'm becoming more settled in realizing who I am. And that I have the choice to look around the world and see through the eyes of love or not. It's always our choice. How do we look at the world? What do we see? And just like the baby, not being a blank slate, I believe the world is the blank slate, and we continue to put our ideas and our thoughts. It's almost like the world is like a canvas, and we continue to paint pictures and ideas and thoughts, and that actually becomes our life. We always have the choice, and it's difficult, especially if you've had an upbringing of a child that was difficult. If your childhood was difficult, it's sometimes hard to get out of that mindset. But it's definitely worth it as we all continue on our spiritual paths. So I want us to sing a song together affirming this of who we are. And it's the red one that says, I am a blessing to this world. It's another song by our wonderful friend Karen Drucker, who writes his beautiful melodies. For we can see the world through the eyes of love and realize that we are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth. And who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. It's real easy if you want to just listen a couple times and catch in. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. hands and say, You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of Spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. Once again, you are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of Spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. And we are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of Spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, and we are the voice of Spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. Once more, take it within and realize that I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of Spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of Spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. I'm a blessing to the world. I'm a blessing to the world. So may we be a witness for love. May we begin to see love in every corner and crevice of this world. May we look past appearances, whatever is happening in our life, and realize that in the invisible, there is something magnificent happening. There is something beautiful unfolding. For our eyes deceive us. For we are loved with an unimaginable love. So may we be a witness for that love in this world. May we be the only voice of God that someone hears today. You are a blessing. You are holy. You are the beloved child of God. You are always guided, always safe, always protected. You are the beloved. This is the truth about you, and this is the truth about me. And so it is. And realizing how magnificently blessed we are, we now give to our spiritual community. This place that spiritually feeds us. This place that accepts us exactly where we are and exactly who we are. We are so grateful. We are so, so blessed. We believe we give into the flow of abundance because we have all that we need. So we open up ourselves to receive, knowing there is a limitless supply. We will no longer argue for our limitations. As we give this morning, we bring our offering forward as an act of faith and giving. Each of the baskets here at the front, and you can pick up an affirmation to take with you throughout the day. And anyone giving with a credit card, you can meet Bill out in the front where you first came in the Welcome Center, and you can take that from you there. So let's, with an open heart, give. With a faithful heart, give. Knowing that there is an eternal supply in the universe that is always supporting us if we are willing to accept it and affirm what is ours. These beautiful expressions of God. So as we give this morning, we affirm in song that we are so blessed, we are so grateful for all that we have. Thank you, God, as we give this morning. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed. Once again, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. Thank you, God, for everyone that gives to our spiritual community, whether it be through tithes and offering, through volunteering, through working with the kids in the office. Whatever there needs to happen, we're grateful for everyone that gives of their time. We know that we are abundant and a great idea in the mind of God. Thank you for this magnificent spiritual community that we call home. And so it is. Thank you, God. Once again, let me grab my little pile of stuff here. We welcome everyone that's here for the first time. We sure hope to see you again in the future. We have a lot of events here besides Sunday morning. It was funny when I first came here, I decided that we didn't want to, what I call a drive-by church, driving by on Sunday and then driving off, that we would have a community that met all throughout the week. And I'm grateful that we have that. In addition to our Sunday morning service that we have at 10:30, we also have our youth program that happens at 10:30 at the same time. We welcome everyone that's watching us on Facebook. If you have some kids, bring them. We have a great program and teachers that are prepared for that. We also have a Wednesday night group, which is such a precious time for me. At 6 p.m. we have meditation, and for an hour we go into a deep time of prayer and meditation using music and guided words. Right after that, I facilitate a discussion on A Course in Miracles. There's no experience necessary for either one of these groups. We just come together to support each other on our spiritual path. Monday night, we have a wonderful new thing about Eastern philosophy. Catherine facilitates this. It happens at 5:30 on Mondays. So you get here all things Eastern philosophy. You learn about yoga, Ayurveda, some eating traditions, some things that help us move into well-being using this ancient form of metaphysical ideas, and just a lot of things from the East, which is very different from how we do things here in the West. If that interests you at all, come and meet Catherine at 5:30. And Paul, tell us about what we're doing on Tuesday night on our spiritual education class. Paul's also, y'all, filling in as DJ today, y'all. He's DJ Paul. Yay!
Microphones for people out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to continue our comparative religion series with an interesting combination that I think a lot of people go, what? Catholicism and voodoo.
Ooh.
A lot more than people think. We'll also be discussing a thing known as Santeria. But there's a lot of times these traditions come together, and we're just going to look at that. So that's what we'll do this Tuesday.
That sounds awesome. Catholicism and voodoo. Come and check that out at 7. Speaking of voodoo, which isn't actually voodoo, every year we have our annual fall festival, and that really crept up on us this year. I can't believe it's almost the end of October. That will be next Saturday, next Sunday. Next Sunday, we have our regular service time, and afterwards we're having a big pizza party. Everyone is welcome to come have some pizza. I encourage you to wear a costume. We're going to have a costume contest. Remember, you're going to be on camera, so, you know, maybe not New Orleans style. But just be creative. I mean, where else can you go and wear your Halloween costume to church? I mean, come on now. But we're going to have a fun time afterwards. Just spend time in fellowship. We're going to have some games to play. We have people modeling down the catwalk for the costume contest. So it's a very fun time we have. Like I said, next week, which is what, the 20... What is next week? The 29th? 28th. All right, the 28th of October. Well, you know, it'll be next Sunday. As always, we give to the Second Harvest Food Bank, so we continue to give oatmeal and cereal, or just anything that you might want to pick up at the grocery store. Spend a few bucks, and someone would have something to eat. You can drop that off in the back, and we'll make sure at the end of October that the food gets to where it needs to go. We have a wonderful event coming up on Saturday. I don't see my poster. Oh, here it is. Our friend Shelly has a group that meets here some on Saturday. There's flyers for this out in the Welcome Center. There's going to be a pet blessing here at the church on October 27th from 1 to 3. Is that correct? What time is the pet blessing? Actually, Shelly, will you tell us about this, y'all? This is Shelly, one of our newest members. Yes.
Yeah, from 1 to 3, we're going to have a discussion. It's going to be all about pets. It's going to be about us celebrating our pets and them celebrating us. We also have a Reiki master coming in who does Reiki on pets. So she's going to speak to us from 2 to 3, and then immediately following, there's going to be a pet lesson. So if you want to bring your iPhone and your pictures of your favorite dog, bird, chicken, whatever, fish, we'll have a blessing. So that'll be on Saturday.
Awesome. I think I need to bring my cat Oliver. He's been really misbehaving. I think he needs some Reiki or blessing. That sounds really, really cool. So that'll be this Saturday. And like I said, there's flyers out in the Welcome Center if you want to do that. I hope somebody doesn't bring a chicken. That would be kind of crazy. Make sure and take this sheet home with you. It reminds you of all the events that happen here. And on the front, we give our income every week so that you can look at that and maybe decide what you want to give next week. As we continue the flow, keeping our bills paid and keeping up on things, we appreciate everyone for giving so much and helping us to just stay on track with that. But there's, as being transparent, there's our giving statement that you find on front of this, and on the back, a reminder of all the events that happen during the week. Where are we going to eat today, Sam?
We're going to Los Jefes Mexican restaurant on Edenborn.
What's it called?
Los Jefes.
Los Jefes on Edenborn.
It's across from Fo Michaels.
So, Fo Michaels. So the lady here with the furry eyeballs on her head, if you want to have more information and don't remember that name, you can talk to her afterwards. This is a great time to spend time with your fellow spiritual family and get to know each other a little bit better and have some really good food. I think that's about it. Don't forget, come next week for our fall festival. It's so much fun. So let's stand together as we head out today, singing our song by John Scott, who's such an awesome songwriter. We look forward to having him back here in the future. Hold on one moment, as I'm now being the DJ. I'm not doing as good as Paul. Talk amongst yourselves. What time do the Saints play today? 3 o'clock. Y'all, how about them Saints? Aren't they doing good? We're going to give them a blessing today, too. Let's sing this song especially for the Saints today, knowing all is well, life is good. The Saints are truly blessed. Yeah, come on and join me, Christian. All is well. life is good, and I am truly blessed. All is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed. I'll let light shine. I'll let light shine, so that everyone can see. I'll let love divine daily flow through me. And all is well, life is good, the saints are truly blessed. All is well, it's a remix. Life is good, and I am truly blessed. Help me be the change. Help me be the change. That's what we talked about today. Yeah, the change we want to see. And let harmony flow daily through me. All is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed. Sounding good, Christian. And all is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good. I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good. I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good. I am truly blessed. All is well and life is good. I'll let light shine. I'll let light shine, so that everyone can see. I'll let love divine daily flow through me. And all is well, and life is good, and I am truly blessed. Yeah, yeah. And all is well, yet life is good, and I am truly blessed. One more time. All is well. Let's say the saints. Life is good. The saints are truly blessed. All is well. And life is good. And I am truly blessed. Yeah, those saints. Those saints are truly blessed. I am truly blessed. Alrighty, and before we head out saying our prayer protection today, I'd also like to once again extend welcome to everyone that watched us on Facebook today. Thank you for being a part of our spiritual community. Come and join us sometime. If you would like to support us, there's a link right below where you're watching, right on our Facebook page, where you can click and securely give and support our spiritual community, and we welcome all of that. We are abundant and loving. So let's say our prayer protection today, and come and join us for lunch today, everybody. Let's say together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. Have a great afternoon, everybody. I've actually done a couple. Oh, really?
It's the weirdest thing, because I realized that last night, I was looking for responses from a while, and then I kind of struggled
The office,
with
yeah.
the
Yeah, they got a lot of really good
and I woke up this morning out of a deep sleep, and the first thing I thought of was, oh my God, on Tuesday, the lady at the bank asked me to my doctor's appointment. So I know that I had it then, and I'm really grateful for the fact that I've got, but I'm going to go tomorrow and ask. That's what I was going to call. But then I said,